In this video, I'm going to go over how to play the game and give you a quick overview of sort of how the game starts and the actions that you can take and sort of a standard player turn. So we've set up the game. In this particular scenario, you always pick a mission to attempt in Maximum Apocalypse and pick an apocalyptic scenario to face. So we are facing the zombie apocalypse, and for this particular mission, our objective is to find the researcher scientist who has barricaded himself in the police station, and then collect at least 4 cans of gas to fill up our van so we can escape the area. So obviously we need to find the researcher, bring him back to the van, and also find gas along our way. So the game is set up, everyone has their cards, and since I'm playing as the hunter is a great player to go first because her innate ability is to scout the landscape. So obviously we don't know what these tiles hold, and there could certainly be traps and other baddies out there. So having a scout sort of scout out the tiles before you move on them is a great thing. So typically the hunter you want to have go earlier in the turn order if you have her as one of the selected classes. So at the start of everyone's turn, the first thing you do is you grab the 2 dice and you roll to spawn monsters. And now at the beginning of the game, you're looking at these numbers in the corner of any revealed tiles, and if the numbers match the dice you roll, monsters will spawn on that location. So as long as we don't roll a 6 early in the game, it doesn't really matter, but a 6 with all 3 of us on that tile is a very bad thing that could happen. So the next thing I do is I draw a card, and you can see here I was lucky enough to draw my bow, which will give me some offensive capabilities. I also have my crossbow, which is even better. So now I'm going to take actions. Every player has 4 actions to take in their turn. Basically everything you do is an action. So I can use my innate ability to recon and flip tiles safely. And then I can play cards from my hand or move around the board. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to show you a variety of things to do, is I'm going to equip my crossbow, which comes with 8 shots. So I would take 8 ammunition tokens and place them on the card to represent how many shots I have. So that is an action. Equipping gear is an action. Then I'm going to use my innate ability, which is to recon and flip a tile without triggering its effect, and I'm going to recon this tile, which is a gas station. Obviously I miss out on this reveal effect because I reconned, but that actually would have been a safe tile to move into. So then with my third action, again to show you guys some different things to do, I'm going to move to the gas station. Now I could scavenge here, drawing from the red pile as my final action, but because these zombie dogs are chomping at the bit to bite us, I'm going to use my final action to deal some damage, and I'm going to use my crossbow, which lets me fire 2 shots for 1 action at 2 different targets. So I can actually hit both of these zombie dogs since they're in range, and I could do 3 damage to each of them. So I would take the corresponding hit tokens. There's 3. There's another 3. Now my turn is over, and once your turn is over, you increase your hunger level. So my hunger will go up to 2. And then any monsters in front of me activate on my turn. So this zombie dog, which has 5 health, 2 remaining currently, and does 4 damage, would then bite me for 4 damage. So I would be down to 20 hit points. And that would be my turn. The next person would go, and we would reveal more and more of the tile, working towards our objective. A couple other things just to go over sort of in the basic rules that doesn't sort of happen till later is, obviously every turn your hunger goes up. When your hunger hits 6, on that turn you flip your card and you start starving to death. So there's a hunger track, you lose access to your innate ability, and on the first turn that happens you're going to take 2 damage, and then on each subsequent turn you're going to take 2 more damage until you could eventually die from starvation. Now the good thing is that once you eat food, your card will immediately flip over and you'll reduce the hunger. Say I ate food that was worth 2, your hunger would reduce down to 4, your card would immediately flip over, and then if you were to start starving again, you start back at the top of that track. So it's okay to starve a little bit, you just don't want to starve consecutively or run out of food to eat as a party. So I've now skipped ahead in this particular game just to show you some more things that can happen throughout the course of a game and some of the other actions players can take. So you can see here that the mechanic has gotten back to the van and been able to fuel it up a little bit with 2 cans of gas. So those gas are no longer being carried by her in her inventory, and she is ready to escape if we can get the last cans of gas to her. You also notice that there are some red monster tokens on the board. There are a lot of different ways you can lose in Maximum Apocalypse. Obviously your character can be killed, your character can starve to death, but if you are jumping around avoiding monsters, and if you go to place a monster token with those red tokens and there are no monster tokens left, you are also overwhelmed by the swarm of enemies out there and everyone loses as well. So there's always an ever-growing threat and sort of a natural timer to keep the game moving ahead. So you can see here we still all have some monsters in front of us, and there's some monsters on the board that we have to navigate. Also, my hunter has taken 9 total damage, so I still have plenty of health, but I am getting really hungry. And I am on a farm. The last turn I went towards the farm for that very reason. So the first thing I'm going to do, again to show you sort of an example turn later in the game, is you still roll the dice to spawn monsters. Now we've hit a 4 here, so we've revealed 2 4s on the thing, so there's going to be 2 roaming monsters that appear on those map tiles. So again, those tiles are depleting and monsters are appearing more and more on the board, making everything a lot more dangerous for everyone. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my card. So that sort of sets up the start of my turn. I obviously have all these cards to play, but for my first action, since I'm getting really hungry, is I'm going to scavenge on the farm while I'm here. So I draw from the green pile, and I get a food. It's not a lot of food, it's just like a Snickers bar and a quick snack, but it will reduce my hunger if I start taking starvation damage. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use an instant card, which is a long-range headshot, and I'm going to do 6 damage to a target within long range. Now long range is 1 to 2 spaces away, so while I can't shoot the zombie in front of me, I can hit and kill that zombie dog that's on the fireman, who's going to go next. So I'm going to use that instant card, put it in my discard pile. I spend an ammunition for my crossbow, and I'm going to deal 6 damage to the dog. And it's out of the way. For my next action, I'm going to trigger my bear trap, which discards and does 5 damage to a zombie. So he is hurt. And then the next thing I'm going to do is, since we do need to make our way back, I'm going to attempt to move through the graveyard. So when you arrive at a tile with a monster cube on it, you're going to attempt a stealth test. And the rules will explain it much better than I can here off the top of my head, or more eloquently. But basically, every character has a stealth stat, and you want to roll under that stealth stat based on how many monsters are on that cube. So there's 1 monster that's going to subtract from my stealth, meaning I need to roll an 8 or under. So I fail miserably, which means I would remove that monster token and draw a new one in front of me. So now I have 2 zombie soldiers, and I'm in deep trouble. So I do have 1 more action left because discarding is a free action. So for my final move, since I can't kill these zombies, I'm going to run to the fireman for help and enter the hospital, which is going to restore 3 health. So I restore 3 health. My turn ends. I start starving. So I would flip my card over and take 2 damage from that. And then I'm also going to take 8 damage from these 2 zombies. So I'll grab these 2 5s. So I've taken 15 total damage. I only have 9 health left. I have 1 can of gas. We still need 1 more, and we need to race back to the van to hopefully complete our objective and beat this particular scenario.